We get asked this all the time. One, should you start LLC or C-Corp? But can you even convert from an LLC to a C-Corp or C-Corp to LLC? And which is easier too?
So that's a great question. And I have a client who's in the middle of doing that right now. And I have to say, it is the biggest pain in the ass I've ever seen. It matters whether or not you're a C-Corp or an LLC, right? But generally speaking, you don't need to start off, and I don't know anyone who starts off as a C-Corp because you're automatically subject to the double taxation on your profit, so on income earned personally and if you ignore any profits. I will grant you that in the first 5 years, we try desperately not to have any profits. That is another important thing when you really contemplate, when you're a foreign national and you're contemplating investment in the United States and the approvability of a visa, this whole notion of loss carry forwards for a 5-year period, which the accountants want to build up, is a no-no for an immigration lawyer, because to the extent that USCIS does not see a business growing, they want to see profits and US employees. They don't want to see you taking advantage of the US tax code. And that's a really important piece of information.
What if you know from the get-go that I'm raising capital from investors, I want to offer equity grants to people, I want to give stock options. Then does it make sense?
You don't do that at the beginning.
Then does it make sense to not start with an LLC and just start directly with the C-Corp?
But no one does that, and no one has the money to do that.
If they are receiving, or they know that getting into one of these accelerators, they're going to receive the check right away. That's actually conditional. So you're going to get the money and capital right away.
How much money are we talking about?
The standard Y Combinator investment is $500,000.
$500,000 investment. The question becomes, why do they want this to be in a C-Corp? Who are the shareholders, or where's the $500,000 coming from? It's being funded to you from the incubator.
Correct.
But the money, how does the incubator get the $500,000?
They have their limited partners, maybe it's endowments, maybe it's high net worth individuals, and they're funding it.
So they have received investment income in a specific corporate structure, which if it's through an LLP, yes, then you would be required to do the C-Corp, and the LLC wouldn't make sense.
Okay, what I like about this though is that it's pretty clear that there is maybe a very narrow case where it makes sense to do a C-Corp right up from the get-go. But it sounds like other than that, an LLC is likely 99.99% of the time, an LLC is the way to start. This was a very narrow use case we went to. Accelerator with a conditional investment.
And I have to tell you that one of my clients was he won a grant from a government agency, and it was the money when it came from the government, it had to be in the C-Corp.
Yep.
They were a C-Corp from the beginning, which was not the strategy in the previous venture.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I tell people all the time is 99.999% of the time, it's likely going to be an LLC. But unless you're in that specific use case, if there's an investment check coming in, you're going to administer equity right away, multiple shareholders, including an investor, then it's a C-Corp. So if I had to summarize, it sounds like most of the time an LLC is going to be the way to go. Specific use case for C-Corps. You can convert LLC to C-Corp, that is possible, but it's a pain in the ass.
So what we've bumped up against in this LLC to C-Corp thing is that, and honestly, this is a strategy of a corporate law firm on the West Coast, not the East Coast, and they have offices in Nevada, and maybe it has something to do with that. But they wanted to retain the FEIN of the LLC.
What does FEIN stand for?
The EIN.
Employer Identification Number.
The Federal Employer Identification Number. And in doing so, it's been really slow going with the IRS. Depending on state law, you may get a different opinion.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not admitted in California. Everything that I've learned over the years, you never incorporate in California. You go to Nevada, you go to Delaware, but you never incorporate. Whereas New York corporate law reflects Delaware corporate law to a certain extent. Not by statute specifically, but in terms of how they lean, where the cases come out in terms of shareholder versus corporate officers, et cetera.